the Musandam Peninsula in northern Oman. Famous for its dhows, the iconic trading and fishing vessels of the Western Indian Ocean. Dhows have been plying these waters for at least 1,000 years. And we're getting what the crew tell me is the ocean's blessing.
There are a dozen species of dolphin around here, and the sailors kind of say that they're their friends. Not a bad start to a boat journey.
The dhows still play a vital role connecting the coastal communities within jagged inlets known as the fjords of Arabia. Our next treasure is the maritime culture of Musandam.
The mountains and hillsides that plunge down into the sea are stunning, but they're really inhospitable. They're impossible to pass through. So it makes complete sense that the people on this peninsula turned to the sea to survive and to seek opportunity.
The maritime trade is an essential part of Oman's identity as a shipbuilding and seafaring nation. Musandam's key position at the entrance to the Gulf of Oman has placed it at the heart of that story.
Although it feels very remote, there are clues all around as to how strategic this place was and still is. This place is called Telegraph Island, and it gets its name because in 1864 the British built a station here for the telegraph cable from Karachi to London. And apparently it was a famously tough posting. I mean, you can imagine it's very exposed, it was very hot. There was hostility from local tribes. So although it feels quite romantic now, I'm sure in its day this was seriously hardcore.
1,000 years before the invention of the telegraph, Omani merchants were sailing to South China and dominating the busy trade routes from Sri Lanka and India to Arabia and East Africa.
These dhows were built so flat and broad, partly so they could transport really heavy cargo. So we know that they carried sapphires and pearls and ebony and ivory and carnelian from India, teak wood and sandalwood and camphor and copper and frankincense. So you have to imagine them just laden with treasures.
The success of Oman's merchants and sailors was based on their unrivaled navigational knowledge.
السماك تجي لبندرة وإذا أخذت العيوق تجي من جرا وعلامة من جرا ومخرها كتفكير كبار كثيرا يقصد.
So the captain's reading these lines of someone called Ahmed bin Majid, who is a 15th century Omani sailor known as the Lion of the Sea, who wrote lines of verse and prose to kind of guide people into how to best navigate these waters. So what was that last bit? What was he saying?
Here he talk about the place where you do anchoring, and it depends on the depth of the area, and he just explained on that depth what you need to do, on that depth where you need to drop your anchor or how to stop, how to park your boat in secure place.
Amazing. So still really, really useful information.
Still some people, they use it actually. My grandfather used to use this kind of way sometimes.
Oman was the only modern Arabian state to have an overseas empire, stretching from Iran to Tanzania from the late 1700s to the 1850s. The combination of internationalism and isolation has generated a unique cultural phenomenon on the peninsula. A village squeezed between the mountains and the sea with a one-off language and identity.
So this is Kumzar, right on the northern tip of the Musandam Peninsula. It's incredibly isolated. You can only get to it by sea. But it also sits on one of the most strategic choke points in the world, because out there is the Strait of Hormuz, and 40 miles across the water, there's Iran.
Millions of tons of gas and oil go around Musandam every day. Yet the few hundred fishing families of Kumzar seem to exist a world away from the supertankers out on the strait.
So a friend of a friend has told me there's a woman here called Makia Al-Kumzari who speaks some English, so I'm hoping